Donald Peterson presents the true adventures of Junior G-Men.
The Junior G-Men are on the air, speeding to your homes, ready for action.
Stand by. All Junior G-Men, stand by. Stand by for the thrilling details of The Secret of the Locked Room. Calling all Junior G-Men. Stand by for report of Junior G-Man Bob Stewart concerning...
The Secret of the Locked Room.
Conclusion of report number 972 is given by Operator Bob Stewart of Wendover.
Well, my dad's a lawyer. And some time ago, he and I visited one of his clients, a Miss Martha Van Cleef. She insisted that the house in which she lived with her nephew Paul and an old butler named Graves was haunted by the ghost of her dead brother Henry, Paul's father. Miss Van Cleef told us that she had heard a violin softly playing a tune that her brother Henry had always played while he was alive, and his voice saying that he'd come back from the grave to haunt her. Dad and I decided to spend the night there, and we hit on the idea of changing places with Miss Van Cleef to find out whether or not the voice would follow her. After the switch was made, Dad went down to the library to get his pipe, and while he was gone... Gee whiz, music. Where's it coming from? Who's playing it? It's creepy, too. Kind of gives you the chills, just the way Miss Van Cleef described it. Gosh, I wish Dad were here. It stopped. Gee whiz, that laugh. I'm scared.
We meet again, dear sister. We meet again.
Holy cats, that voice. It's talking to Miss Van Cleef, and she's not here. She's not here.
I think you've lost your mind, dear sister. Amusing, isn't it? Very amusing.
Then she wasn't imagining things. She hasn't lost her mind.
You're beginning to doubt yourself, are you not, dear sister? You're beginning to doubt yourself.
She isn't crazy. She really heard a voice.
You think it's strange, do you not? That no one else has never heard my voice. That to you alone has that privilege been given.
The voice of a ghost. Gosh, it can't be. It just
Well,
can't.
rest assured, dear sister, no one else shall ever hear my voice. Only you. Only you.
It seems to be coming from over there.
Farewell, dear sister, until we meet again. Until we meet again.
It's all a trick. That's what it is. Deliberate trick to drive Miss Van Cleef crazy. Who's behind it? Who's behind it? Well, a couple of minutes later, Dad came back to the room. And after I told him what had happened...
You believe that someone is deliberately trying to drive Miss Van Cleef crazy? But who? Miss Van Cleef hasn't another relative in the world but her nephew Paul.
Paul?
If she were proven insane, incompetent, he'd be given absolute control over the entire estate. Oh, but it's too ridiculous. It can't be.
How about the Graves, the butler?
Oh, but you told me that it didn't sound like Graves' voice. In fact, you said you didn't recognize it at all. That means there must be someone else in this house. Someone we haven't seen.
Yes, but suppose that voice doesn't belong to anyone in this house. Supposing it isn't a voice at all.
You mean that...
Suppose it isn't a living voice.
Oh, good heavens, son, you don't mean...
Remember, Dad, I told you that the voice seemed kind of mechanical, and that it seemed to be coming from someplace behind the wall, over there where the picture of Miss Van Cleef's brother used to hang?
That's just it. There's probably someone in the next room.
There can't be, Dad. There couldn't have been. If there had been someone in that room, he'd have overheard us talking. He would have known about the switch. In that case, I would have never heard the voice. He wouldn't have spoken, not to me, Dad.
Well, no, I suppose not, and yet But look here, you seem to have something in mind, some kind of a solution. Let's have it.
Well, just suppose there's some kind of a record, a phonograph record. One that's been especially prepared for exactly this purpose. And there'd be more than one dead. There'd be several. One for each time the voice was heard by Miss Van Cleef.
Yes, that's true, of course. There'd have to be a phonograph, too, and someone to operate it. You haven't forgotten that, have you?
No, Dad, I haven't. Now, if I'm right about these records, there's probably a phonograph set up against the wall of the next room, and I wouldn't be surprised if it were located almost directly back of that spot where the picture used to hang.
Now, that wouldn't surprise me either, Bob. And it would explain the picture's falling. The sound vibration would gradually loosen the nail or whatever held that picture up, and then finally... but that's beside the point. Go on, son. What about the operation of this phonograph? How do you explain that?
Well, as long as we're figuring that there couldn't have been anyone in that room, we've got to take it for granted that the machine, if there is one, is operated by a switch, an electric switch.
An electric switch that would start the machine, stop it automatically, and then move the arm back to its original position.
Yeah.
Yes, it could be done. In fact, I've seen it done. There are machines just like that.
Sure there are. But the switch, Dad. If only we knew where it was.
The switch. But of course, now I understand.
What, Dad? What?
When I went down to the library a while ago, I fumbled around in the dark trying to find the light switch. I found a little button, pushed it, but nothing happened. That is, the lights didn't go on. At the moment, I thought it might be a means of ringing for the butler, but when he didn't show up, I just forgot all about it.
I'll bet it's the switch we're after, Dad. I'll just bet it is. And it points the finger right at Paul Van Cleef. He could have thrown that switch while we were talking to him in there in the library, just before his Aunt Martha screamed.
Yes, I know, and yet it seems almost unbelievable. But look here. We've got to test this theory of ours just to make sure it's foolproof. Now, here's what we'll do. I'll sneak down the hall.
Well, Dad left me there in that room. And then a few minutes later returned with Miss Martha Van Cleef. After he'd closed the door...
Now, don't be frightened, Miss Van Cleef. Everything's going to be all right in a little while.
I hope so. I hope so.
Tell me, that room next to this one, what's it used for?
Why, nothing. Nothing at all. It's just a guest room.
Then why is it locked?
Locked? But I didn't know it was locked.
Well, it is. I tried the knob on my way down the hall, and it's locked all right. I suppose you have the key.
Why, no, I haven't. I gave the only duplicate to Graves when he lost his.
I see. I suppose Graves knew that yours was the only duplicate key to that room, didn't he?
Yes, he did. He promised to have another made, though, and, well, I suppose it must have slipped his mind.
Yes. Yes, I suppose it must have. Well, at any rate, Graves has the only key to that room in existence. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
Gee whiz, Dad. Then Graves must be the one...
Quiet, son, quiet.
What's the matter, Mr. Stewart? What's the matter?
Nothing, Miss Van Cleef. Nothing at all. We've merely been trying to solve this mystery, and I think we've succeeded. Now, I want you to stay here in this room with Bob. I have an idea you're going to hear that voice again.
Henry's voice?
Well, a voice that sounds like Henry's. Now, you mustn't be frightened either, because there's no longer any reason for you to be.
I don't understand. Won't you explain?
When I come back, after we've found out whether or not our little experiment was successful.
Well, Dad left us and went to the library, pushed the little button. But wait a second. Here's what happened upstairs. Miss Van Cleef and I were just sitting there waiting for something to happen. And then, all of a sudden...
Listen.
Music. It worked.
You hear it, then? The music, you hear it?
Yes, I do.
Oh, then I'm not imagining things. I'm not imagining...
No, you're not imagining things. Not by a long shot. Dad pushed the little switch down there in the library and... But wait, it stopped. Now we'll hear the... There it is, the laugh, the same laugh.
We meet again, dear sister. We meet again.
Those words. The very same words I heard earlier
I
this
think
evening.
you've lost your
Wonder.
mind, dear sister.
The record hasn't been changed. It hasn't been
Amusing,
changed.
isn't it? Very amusing.
And when Dad returned, he explained the whole thing to Miss Van Cleef and insisted that she allow him to send for the police immediately. It was just about half an hour later that two detectives arrived, and naturally their arrival awakened Graves and Paul Van Cleef. In the meantime, Dad told the whole story to the detectives, and they immediately checked on it. Then, after Graves and Miss Van Cleef's nephew came to her room, one of the detectives went down to the library, pushed the button, and started the record playing. As it neared its finish,
Interesting. Very interesting.
Quiet, Graves, quiet. Now, Graves, now is the time to talk.
Talk, sir? But what shall I say, sir?
Well, suppose you use your own judgment.
Very good, sir. I should like to say, sir, that this has been most entertaining.
And that's all?
That's quite all, sir.
I see. And you, Van Cleef, is there anything you'd like to say?
You seem to have discovered something.
Yeah, that's right. And with a little time, we can discover a great deal more. However, you can save us that time, Van Cleef. You can confess.
So, you want me
I
to...
beg pardon, sir. But if I were you, sir, I wouldn't say anything that I'd have cause to regret at a later time.
Oh, you wouldn't?
No, sir.
Well, Graves, you're going to do a little regretting on your own. Because I'm going to tell everything I know. And as you know, I know plenty.
If you forgive me, sir, it's my opinion that you're a bit of an idiot, sir.
You know, Graves, I believe you're right. I am an idiot. And I proved it when I fell for that line you handed me.
I, sir? A line, sir?
Yes, a line. And like the poor fish I am, I didn't see the hook on the end of it.
Let's have it, Van Cleef. What's it all about?
Well, to begin with, ever since I came to stay with Aunt Martha, Graves has been nagging me, always telling me that my father was cheated out of his rightful inheritance and that I, as his son, should control at least half of this estate. The more I listened to him, the more insistent he became, and he finally outlined this plan.
This plan to drive your aunt insane?
Yes. Well,
Paul, how could you? I planned to leave everything to you.
I know, Aunt Martha, I know, but I couldn't wait that long. Graves wouldn't let me. Well, we went ahead. Had those records made by an actor who didn't know what they were to be used for. He thought it was some kind of a joke. Well, it was a joke, and the laugh's on me.
Definitely, sir. Definitely.
Go on, Van Cleef. You had these records made, and then...
Well, we rigged up the phonograph and that switch down there in the library. It looked like a perfect setup. And at the time, I couldn't see how we could possibly fail in any way because...
And in order to punish Graves, who was really the more guilty of the two, Miss Van Cleef was forced to prosecute her nephew. However, he got off with a fairly light sentence. And although he'll be out of the prison in a few weeks, he'll never be really free, because he'll always have a guilty conscience.